Hare Krishna. Somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
Prabhuji, may I start with this?
Go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Om Anyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vande Ham Sri Guru Sri Yutapata Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavcha. Sri Rupam Jagradam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tamsa Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitam Cha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaya Ivacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavobhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. Thanks to our dear Shivangi. She recorded me doing the short Achman. So if any one of you need that video either to learn or for a refresher, please send me a message on my WhatsApp or somehow, and I will forward that video to you. Although many of you already know it, it's just that if you need it. Thank you again, Shivangi. So today we will cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, about 22 verses. And this starts unit number 7. Unit number 7 covers rest of Canto 2 from Chapter 6 to Chapter 10. But first, I will answer inquiries submitted by devotees as well as bring up striking points on the screen. Question number 1. Are all war situations created by the will of the Lord? Example, Russia-Ukraine war going on right now. There's a reference for this in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.5.17 purport. So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita 16.21 and most recently just this Friday at the Path 6 and 7. 16.21 says that lust, anger, and greed are the causes of problems in the material world. And we also discussed in our last classes here in Canto 2 should be around chapter 5. Narad Muni inquires with Brahmaji, why is everybody infatuated with I, me, mine? So it is this lust, anger, greed, I, me, mine concept, the causes of problems in the material world. So everything is sanctioned by the Lord, but sanction does not mean it is the will of the Lord. Lord sanctions according to karmic credit. And further in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12, Swayambhuva Manu teaches to Dhruv Maharaj. So the situation is that Dhruv Maharaj's brother Uttama is killed by the Yakshas, one of the Yakshas. And Dhruv Maharaj goes on to fight with all the Yakshas to eradicate all the Yakshas from the planet. Because one of the Yaksha killed Dhruv Maharaj's brother. So Swayam Manu goes on to teach Dhruv Maharaj that Lord uses living entities to manifest the good and bad karma of other living entities, but Lord stays neutral. In that whole Canto 4, Chapter 12 discussion, Swayam Manu describes that Lord is aloof. And then Dhruv Maharaj asked that, well, if Lord is aloof, why is everything happening here? And Swayambhu Manu describes that Lord uses living entities to manifest good and bad karma as well as other energies. So souls are also energies, and Lord uses his energies for everything to happen in the material world. So again, Lord's sanctioning does not mean that's what the Lord is willing for. Does that answer the question? Question number 2. Is intelligence and living energy prana generated by the mode of passion? Yes. At the last class, I showed you a visual from Canto 3, Chapter 5, in terms of the process of creation, that the mixture of ego and the mode of passion creates intelligence and prana. Question number 3. Why are there no temples for Brahmaji, who is our secondary creator? So in the entire universe, not just Earth, entire universe, there is only one temple for Brahmaji here on this earth in Ajmer, Rajasthan, Pushkar someplace. So there is one, just one in the entire universe. But we don't need to worship Brahmaji, and there is a follow-up question on this also, which is number 4. Question number 4 is, where do the followers of Brahma Sampradaya go to worship? So we have discussed that ISKCON followers are part of the Brahma Gaudiya Madhava Sampradaya. Brahmaji is the head spiritual master. So ISKCON followers definitely worship in ISKCON temples, but they don't worship Brahmaji. They worship Sri Radha Krishna. Now, there is, as I said, there is a Brahmaji temple. Now, those who worship Brahmaji, and of course, those who are at Brahmaloka, they also worship Brahmaji. So at Brahmaloka, there are two kinds of living entities who worship Brahmaji. That those who worship Brahmaji as independent of Supreme Lord, at the end of Brahmaji's 100-year life, Brahmaji goes to spiritual world, but these souls who worship Brahmaji as independent of Supreme Lord, they do not go to spiritual world. And then at Brahmaloka, there are those who worship Brahmaji as devotee of the Lord. They go to spiritual world together with Brahmaji when Brahmaji's 100-year life ends. Do these questions get answered? Question number 5. Is it that Srila Prabhupada wrote Srimad Bhagavatam till Canto 2 in India and then left for abroad, not knowing whether he would be able to complete it? So I recall reading in Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita that Srila Prabhupada came to US initially with first 3 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. Not 2, but 3. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 6. How do we connect to other than us in the material world? Are we part of it or different? So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, that all souls are parts and parcels of Krishna, whatever be the body of the 8.4 million life forms. Anybody has memorized 15.7 would like to recite? No. Anybody?
मम एवांश जीवलोके जीवलोको सनातनः जीवभूतः सनातनः मनःषष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति.
Very good. Right? That everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna says, Mama eva amsha jiva loke. So our goal in the question says, how do we connect with others? So our goal is to become samadarshina, so as to see all living beings as souls and see the Paramatma within all of us. Anybody knows what's the verse for this, where Krishna says, one who sees Paramatma in all, the mind is already conquered? Bhagavad Gita verse. Shivangi, you want to read verse 6.7 Bhagavad Gita?
Yes, Prabhuji, 1 second. The translation, Prabhuji.
Correct.
For one who has conquered the mind, the supersoul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
Right, so 6.7 says super soul is already attained, and then 6.8 and 6.9 are again Samadarshina verse, same as 5.18, that one treats gold and pebbles, enemy and friends and everyone equal. Does that answer the inquiry?
Prabhuji, you said gold and pebbles, so not pebbles, not non-material, say non-living things also.
Correct. And we have discussed this exact same point in 6.8 and 6.9. 6.8 first only talks about living beings. Sorry, 6.8 talks about non-living things, but then we discuss, well, but non-living things don't have feelings, and therefore Krishna goes on to describe it in 6.9 that is not just non-living things. Samadarshina treats living beings also, even though they may be enemies, he treats enemies and friends equally. Pragya, read 6.8 and 6.9 translation.
Ji Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. 6.8, a person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Text 9. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. Hare Krishna.
Does that answer the inquiry?
Ji Prabhuji, thank you.
So I have shown you a visual for Samadarshina earlier, that the Samadarshina sees the Paramatma in all living entities, whether it's a Brahmana or an ordinary Chandala or a bird or an animal or a dog, whatever it be. Right? Question number 7. The discussions of Bhagavad Gita, not Bhagavad Gita, but it's Srimad Bhagavatam 2, Canto 2, Chapter 5 are surreal. Will we, through our study, be able to understand and comprehend creation and its connection with the Lord, and then be in a space to explain it to others? So you all please let me know if you all have a good understanding of the creation process discussed so far. I mean, more discussion is coming up. I already showed you a visual from Canto 3, Chapter 5 also. But the discussion will continue up to that point. And although this creation process discussion is not as important as compared to the topics of the path of Bhakti Yoga, devotee association, engaging mind and senses in Krishna's service. So you all let me know whether you have understanding to certain extent or not of the creation process.
Prabhuji, a little bit not internalized so as to explain to others, Prabhuji.
All right.
Me too, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Shivangi also says not a strong understanding. I understand, but I mean, it's a process, right? We don't understand everything on day one, but somewhat understanding. Rest of you, do you have somewhat understanding?
Same, Prabhu, same.
Same, Prabhuji, somewhat understanding.
All right. Many of you are still silent. I don't know what that means. Do you or do you not have understanding?
So far, Prabhuji, this thing I realized for sure that Krishna is everywhere. So all I need to reach him somehow the other way, try my best to reach him.
Correct. So, yeah, good point that Vibhuti Yoga is important. And therefore I said, yes, I have described a lot of technical points for the creation points, but creation process, yes, it's a Shrishti Leela, it's a Leela of the Lord. We need to understand to a certain extent, but it is not as important as the topics of Bhakti Yoga, devotee association, engaging mind and senses in Krishna's service. These topics are more important. Rest of you, I don't know what silence means. Do you understand or you do not understand?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have observed one thing. The more you chant the name, the more you feel the presence everywhere.
Yeah, that is correct. Very good. Plus, it's not a question of more chanting. It's a question of purer chanting. Then you feel. You can chant once purely and you will feel the presence also. Or if you chant like me, 16 rounds, I don't feel anything. All right, rest of you are silence. I don't know what that means, but we'll move on. Question number 8. So Gauri's point that I understand but do not know how to improve my chanting. Maybe it will come by time. I mean, the creation discussion, chanting slightly different, although you can understand from the creation discussion that Krishna has done so many things for us. So let me do my chanting with attention, with love and devotion. You can use that point. I mean, chanting with love and devotion is a work in progress for me also. For Guru Maharaj, our Guru Maharaj has many lectures, including just yesterday, our Guru Ma has also given a lecture on how to improve your japa. There are many lectures. They keep giving this again and again because it's a work in progress. When our Guru Maharaj requires to complete the Bhakti Jumpstart, one of the question in there when I completed was about japa. And I did mention to my Guru Maharaj, this was before initiation, as part of completing the courses, that japa is work in progress. To improve the quality of japa, that is work in progress, and it still is work in progress. Gauri, does that help you? Yeah, Gauri, you are part of Guru Maharaj's WhatsApp group. Just yesterday, there was a lecture posted of Guru Ma explaining about make japa great again. It's similar to Guru Maharaj also has a lot of lectures about how to make japa great again. And yesterday Guru Ma also gave, so you can try to listen to that and follow. Anybody interested, I can also forward that to you. You can message me offline. Question number 8. What is the difference or similarity between Ashtanga Yoga described in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, the fast and the gradual process? So there is no difference. We have discussed at great length that Bhagavad Gita is principles and Srimad Bhagavatam has detail. So Srimad Bhagavatam has elaboration of the Ashtanga Yoga principle discussed in Bhagavad Gita. So Ashtanga Yoga in Bhagavatam is discussed many places, not just here in Canto 2, because Bhagavatam there are incidents of devotees in Satyug. So in Satyug, everybody is following Ashtanga Yoga. So there are many other discussions in Srimad Bhagavatam will come up in Canto 3, Canto 4, where devotees are following Ashtanga Yoga. And there are tiny differences, but principle is same. Just there is elaboration in Srimad Bhagavatam. Does that answer the inquiry? Question number 9. As everything is energy of the Lord, so why thinking about Srimad Bhagavatam universal form relating material world manifestation to Lord's form is unreal? Material world objects are also energies of the Lord. So we have discussed at great length in Bhagavad Gita as well as in Srimad Bhagavatam that Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form is a concept to make materialistic person's imagination move from material things to spirituality. Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form does not exist. It's a fact. It's just a concept to move materialistic people towards spirituality. Question number 10. In Canto 2, Sukadeva Goswami described about Nisheda or don'ts. Where or how are they described in Canto 2? So we discussed that Nisheda means what not to do. People go to demigods for getting quick results for their material desires. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami described in Canto 2 at the very start that materialistic persons worship demigods. By this, Sukadeva Goswami is stating what not to do. So if you go back to our class discussions, that's exactly what I had described, that by describing I think it's Canto 2, Chapter 2, verses 2 to 7 that are stacked together. Chapter, I may be incorrect, but verses 2 to 7, that there's such a laundry list of which demigod to worship for which material desire to be fulfilled. So why is Sukadeva Goswami describing? Because he says, don't do this. This is what materialistic people are doing. Plus, with the comparison of Grahamedi and Grahastha, Sukadeva Goswami is stating, do not be a Grahamedi, rather be a Grahastha. These are all the Nisheda points described in Canto 2. Of course, he also described about live a simple life, that have trees stop giving fruits, that you are working day and night to earn money. Why do you need a bed and a pillow if are your arms not sufficient to use as a pillow? Why do you need a bungalow? Are caves not available? So all this he's saying, live a simple life, meaning the rest everything is do not do it. Does that answer question number 10? Pragya?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I had a clarification for question number 9. When you say that, do we mean that for our devotional practice, we don't need to relate to the universal form? Is that the statement, or that the universal form itself is unreal?
Both points are correct. So you all are bhakti devotees. And when we were discussing the universal form in Canto 2, I already said that all this is very technical about universal form. You all bhakti yogi devotees, you do not need to worry about the universal form at all. And simultaneously, universal form described in Srimad Bhagavatam, that this universal form does not exist at all. It's just a concept to move the imagination of materialistic people from material things to spiritual things. Also, do understand that as this creation discussion will continue, later on the actual universal form, which is described in Bhagavad Gita, also gets discussed in Bhagavatam, that how the actual universal form got manifested, like how step by step each of the senses and each of the parts of the universal form got manifested. Still, that is not important. It is described because creation is discussed in Bhagavatam, but it is not important at all. We have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita, that for chapter 11, the universal form chapter, Srila Prabhupada has 0 lectures. And Prabhupada also says in chapter 11, for when God displayed the universal form, Prabhupada says this is godless display of God's opulence. Hare Baba, God is displaying his universal form, and pure devotee is saying this is godless display. Why? Because it is very difficult to reciprocate with the universal form, the actual universal form described in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, as well as that actual universal form, the manifestation of that actual universal form in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11 will get discussed here in Srimad Bhagavatam as this creation discussion continues. The starting portion of Canto 2, where universal form is discussed, that Srimad Bhagavatam universal form is just a concept that is completely unreal. Later on, as it's mainly largely in Canto 3, towards the start of Canto 3, that the manifestation of the universal form is discussed, although it comes up later on also. Does that help you, all of you, or does that get confused?
Prabhuji, I am confused. We just now discussed about being Samadarshana as living beings, that all living beings are seen as soul, and we see Paramatma and all. And even in whether it is pebble stones, everything is the same. So when you're saying that it is unreal, do we mean that we should not visualize the trees as hair and rivers as veins? Or do you are we trying to say that these are not uh, part of super soul? What is it that we are trying to understand, Prabhuji?
Everything in the material world is a vibhuti of the Lord, period. It's a vibhuti. The universal form discussion at the start of Canto 2 is just a concept where materialistic people who like to see big things and their imagination is attracted to big things. So Bhagavatam gives them an opportunity. Okay, now you can move your imagination to think that the mountains are like the bones of the Lord, or the rivers are like the veins of the Lord. This way they can start thinking on the lines of spirituality. You all devotees, you don't need to worry about this comparison at all, because you already are at Bhakti Yoga process where you know the Shyam Sundar form of the Lord and you know about devotional service of the Lord. Bhagavatam describes from the very start. Therefore, Canto 2, Chapter 1 is described or titled First Step in God Realization, that takes materialistic people. Then Bhagavatam progresses to Brahman effulgence, then to Paramatma realization, and then to Bhagavan realization. So Bhagavatam gives the processes for anyone and everyone in the material world. Whether or not one is a materialistic person or whether or not one is a devotee does not matter. We'll soon discuss in Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 10, that Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer for everyone. Therefore, these concepts are discussed. But Pragya's question is also spectacular. That how do we understand? Is it a vibhuti or not a vibhuti? That all these things in the material world, exactly what question number 9 also is spectacular, that everything is a manifestation of the Lord. So we have discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 10 about vibhuti yoga, how to use everything to remember the Lord. So we have discussed that vibhuti yoga, how you use is that this beautiful thing is manifested from a tiny spark of the Lord. Well, then the whole Lord must be so beautiful that a tiny spark can create zillions of beautiful things. Well, then let me connect to the whole Lord. That way you make it vibhuti yoga. But all these same things, in the material world, yes, they are coming from the Lord. But materialistic people don't know this. They are just enamored by big shapes or big buildings or big mountains. And Bhagavatam is saying, okay, you have your material imagination. Now move your material imagination to thinking the same things as if they are part of the Lord's body. But Lord's body is not material. We have discussed this in 2.5.36, the word kalpita, that imagination. And Lord's body is not material. Lord's body is spiritual. And everything in the material world is contained within the actual universal form. Pragya, everybody? I want to hear from everybody if this discussion about question number 9 and Pragya's follow-up question, everybody crystal clear about the universal form in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, then the universal form concept towards the start of Bhagavatam Canto 2, and then the Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, universal form, how it actually gets manifested will come up in Srimad Bhagavatam in upcoming chapters and cantos. Everybody?
Yes, Prabhuji, to a certain extent we understood.
I don't know what silence means from rest of you. Do I need to play the crater sound today?
Prabhuji, for me, it is, very slow in understanding, Prabhuji. So not getting internalized still.
Divya?
So,
Expensing for the earned income is deductible. Basically saying that the principal repayments are not.
Divya, there is a background noise. I cannot understand what you're saying.
Can you hear me now, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the universal form itself it's a temporary form. So in a way, it's kind of like a material form, right? It's just a material understanding.
If you go back to Bhagavad Gita chapter 11 discussion, the universal form is still transcendental form. The actual universal form is still transcendental, just not eternal. Universal form is not material. Universal form is still transcendental, but not eternal.
Okay.
so Prabhuji, what we see as material, it is actually transcendental, for it is God's creation. But we are able to manifest it only as physical and material things. We are not able to look at a tree and think that it's a transcendental form of the God. So,
Okay, so hold on. Pragya, you are way confused.
absolutely, Prabhuji.
Everything in the material world is an energy of the Lord manifested as energy of the Lord, right? Whether material thing becomes material or spiritual depends on what it is used for. So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 with the example of butter. Is butter material or spiritual? Well, everything in the material world is originally coming from the Lord. Krishna says in 10.8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, that everything is coming from the Lord. So yes, everything has emanated, manifested from the Lord, but if I am using the butter for my enjoyment, well, then it's material. And if I am using the same butter for Lord's service or for yajna, well, then it becomes spiritual. So everything in the material world, yes, it's coming from the Lord. What you have to understand is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, at the start, the universal form manifestation is just a concept that people in the material world, they think everything in the material world that is big, oh, this is so great. Oh, this is amazing. So Sukadeva Goswami is saying, take this imagination and think it is the form of the Lord. Just that thinking that it is the form of the Lord gets them little purification. So we discussed this in Canto 2 in the previous unit, that where is the mind supposed to be fixed? Shivangi gave this presentation when we were doing this presentation. Shivangi spoke that Sukadeva Goswami says, fix your mind on the universal form. But which universal form? That doesn't even exist. You are just trying to move your imagination from this material big things and saying, oh, maybe the Lord is like this big. So they are thinking of the Lord when their original imagination was simply focused on material. All these material things are vibhutis of the Lord. But what am I using it for? That determines whether it's material or spiritual. Pragya should be crystal clear now.
Prabhuji, when we say using it for, so there are things you may not be using it for anything, like a mountain or a river. But it is vibhuti of Lord.
Yeah, it is vibhuti
and
of Lord.
it is
Yes.
material for us. So
So understand, it does not have to be material for you. If you look at Mount Everest or any mountain for that matter, you can think of, oh, this is very beautiful mountain. You can use it as vibhuti yoga to remember the Lord. Why does it have to be material for you? You may not be using mountain, but you can use it to remember the Lord. This is what we have learned from vibhuti yoga. Pragya?
yes, Prabhuji. So we not only use it for remembering Lord, but actually it is Lord's form, right?
It is not Lord's form. So I will stop this slide and I will bring up the other slide, that all these components of material world are not Lord's form. Okay, let me find. Okay, I will bring up this slide that we have discussed in Bhagavad Gita as well as Bhagavatam. Okay, you all are way confused by mistake.
Prabhuji, I'm sorry if I'm disturbing your plan for the class. Maybe I can
No.
understand it
No,
from you separately.
No. Rest of them are also silent. That tells me they are also confused. So after I show this, I want to hear from every single one of you. It's very important to understand. So I have discussed this slide earlier. Is universe the form of the Lord? Or is there a form of the Lord that contains the universe? And what is the difference between Bhagavad Gita's universal form and Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form? So Bhagavad Gita's universal form is a revelation, is a real form that contains the entire universe. So it's an actual form, like say just as you and I have a human form, the universal form is also a human-like form, just a very ghastly form. It has thousands of heads and thousands of arms and thousands of bellies. It's just a very ghastly form. So within that actual universal form, Arjuna saw at the bottom the divine serpents holding the universe, and at the top, Brahmaji. This is described in Bhagavad Gita 11.15. So Bhagavad Gita's universal form is real, but not eternal. So Divya was asking, and Pragya was also saying, is Bhagavad Gita's form material? No, Bhagavad Gita's form is not material. It's a transcendental universal form, actually exists, and within that form, the material universe exists. The only thing is, Bhagavad Gita's universal form is not eternal. It's a real form, but not eternal, meaning there is no loka in the spiritual world where Bhagavad Gita's universal form exists. All other forms of the Lord, say Narsimha Dev or Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Ram, Varahadev, all these forms are eternal because they exist in the spiritual world eternally. Universal form does not exist in the spiritual world. When at the end of 100-year life of Brahmaji, when universe is annihilated, the universal form is also annihilated. And when the second creation happens, not every day, not the partial annihilation. I'm talking of 100-year life ends of Brahmaji, when the actual full annihilation happens. The Bhagavad Gita's universal form, although it's a transcendental form, but that Bhagavad Gita's universal form also gets annihilated together with all universes. So each universe has one actual universal form. They are all transcendental, just not eternal. And then you compare this with Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form, that Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form is neither real nor eternal. Srimad Bhagavatam universal form is kalpitaji, imagination, that materialistic people have this imagination to think of big things. And Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form is a conceptualization discussed in 2.1.25, is just a tool to enhance any person's spiritual focus using material imagination. I mean, I have crystal clear visuals for this. By this, the materialistic person who has material imagination, he thinks the rivers are like the veins of the Lord, mountains are like the bones. But Lord's form is not made up of mountains. Lord's form is an actual form, which includes the entire universe within the form. It's just that the actual universal form is transcendental, just not eternal. And so the visual that I have on the screen is the discussion at the start of Canto 2. And later on in Srimad Bhagavatam, the manifestation of the actual form discussed in Bhagavad Gita is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. That Srimad Bhagavatam discussion of the actual manifestation of the universal form, that is not imaginary. That's an actual universal form. Describe how that step by step, this universal form discussed and shown to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, how that universal form got manifested. Pragya?
Ji Prabhuji, so one is a revelation by God, one is imagination. But even with that imagination, we can, if we imagine a God looking at those material things, then it is the first step in God realization. This is Vibhuti Yoga, right, Prabhuji?
Yeah. You can,
But
you all use it as Vibhuti Yoga. Materialistic people don't know Vibhuti Yoga. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami is giving them a similar concept, that think of veins as think of rivers as the veins, think of mountains as the poles. He's giving them something similar to Vibhuti Yoga. But for you, it's all Vibhuti Yoga. Okay?
Okay, Prabhuji. So, so we know that this is creation of God, and it is His part. But because we are following Bhakti Yoga, we are focusing on Shyam Sundar form.
Correct.
But this form is actually a step towards God realization, even though it is imagination. Is that imagination is encouraging us as taking the first step towards God realization?
Correct. So if you go back to Canto 2 initial discussion, Sukadeva Goswami says, you have imagination, but your imagination is caught at material level. Therefore, now use the same imagination to move towards spirituality, even though it's just a concept, but thinking of that mountains as if it's the bones of the Lord, that materialistic person is thinking on spiritual lines. Therefore, Canto 2, Chapter 1 is titled First Step in God Realization. I want every single one of you to unmute and tell me if this is crystal clear or not. Otherwise, I will start over again.
Prabhuji, I get it now, complete.
It's very clear, Prabhuji.
Yes, it's clear.
Clear.
Yes, Prabhuji, it's clear.
So, yes, Prabhuji, it is clear. But so we do not need to imagine the Bhagavad Gita universal form. The Srimad Bhagavatam universal form is meant to guide a materialistic person.
Okay, so
The
stop here.
Srimad
Stop here.
Bhagavatam.
Okay, stop here. Bhagavad Gita's form is not imagination. Bhagavad Gita's form is real form. But still, Bhagavad Gita's universal form, which is also coming up in Srimad Bhagavatam discussion towards Canto 3, you don't need to worry about universal form. You all are Bhakti yogis. You all know Shyam Sundar form. That's what you should focus on. Gauri, clear?
Yes, so the Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form is meant to remind us that we were once at this stage
Correct.
when we were materialist,
Correct.
and when we started reading the Bhagavad Gita, but it is here just as a guide, even though like people don't skip to Srimad Bhagavatam reading without knowing the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, very good. Absolutely correct statement by Gauri that yes, it's a reminder. We were at that level. Just visualize your past. What were your imagination like? If somebody told us back then about Bhagavatam that use your imagination, we would have become spiritual much faster. Very good. Thank you, Gauri. Mayank?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had a question. So, are the different avatars related to this
Related to what?
this universal form?
Related
Like,
in what sense?
so, so we usually say, right, Krishna and Rama avatar are similar, and there were there was Narsimhadev.
So, okay, we have discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28, and I have shown you visuals that Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all incarnations, including Narsimhadev, are coming from Krishna. Yes, Narsimhadev is anyway Krishna himself, just a different form. Lord Ram is Krishna himself, just a different form. All incarnations, including the three Vishnus, including the universal form, all are coming from Krishna. They all have individual personalities. For example, Vishnu, yeah, he has his personality, he has his role, but he is coming from Krishna. Mayank Prabhu, you want to read Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28? Anybody has memorized, would like to recite? Ete cha amsho kalopumsha.
1.3.28.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anybody memorize, would
all
like to
of the
recite?
should I, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go ahead.
All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists.
Right. The second line says in 1.3.28, Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. Ete cha amsha kalau pumsha Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mriyanti Yuge Yuge. Mayank Prabhu, clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, your yes was a doubtful yes.
Now, yeah, Prabhuji, that part I'm clear.
What is not clear?
About this universal form. I'm still not at 100% clarity, but yeah,
So I have described, you can listen to this recording again and again.
yeah, sure.
Right? I have described to crystal clear clarity.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I'll get the recording from you.
Okay, some at least one or two did not answer. I think Archana, you didn't answer, speak. Who didn't speak?
Yes, Prabhu, it's clear.
All right. Everybody crystal clear? Anybody still has doubts? Thank you for raising the inquiry so that it becomes clear for everyone. All right, let's finish last inquiry. So I answered number 9 and 10. We had a significantly valuable discussion related with question number 9. Last question for today. Brahmaji created the Prajapatis, and Prajapatis later generated all forms of life. But how did the Prajapatis produce the 8.4 million species? So not Prajapatis, rather Brahmaji created the 8.4 million life forms. Prajapatis populated the universes just as parents populate the family with children. Does that answer the inquiry?
So the correct question. The Prajapatis are human. So how they were able to create the animal forms or like body forms?
No, so humans. So Prajapatis first populated human civilization, not the animals. So there were 8.4 million life forms were created all together. Bhagavatam only refers to Prajapatis. Bhagavatam only refers to human because we are human. We have also discussed that Krishna does come in other forms of the species also. So they are all also an evolution cycle. We just don't know about it. But that does not mean Prajapati created animals. No, animals also populated by themselves. Although animals population is much faster than human population. Matan?
Okay, so they were so Prajapatis. They did not create the population, animal population.
That is correct. Animals will create animal population. Bhagavatam, we are humans, so Bhagavatam is for us. You cannot read Bhagavatam to an animal. So it's
I was just
Bhagavatam
trying to
is.
understand how they came into existence. All the other forms, how they came into existence. I mean that's.
So visualize this, that on day one, when creation happened, I showed you visual that Mahavishnu gave all the ingredients, and Brahmaji took all these ingredients and mixed and created the 8.4 million life forms. Then Jiva, Brahmaji is omnipotent enough to see through the Jiva's desire. So Jiva, we all also come in front of Brahmaji with our dominant desire. Brahmaji is able to see that dominant desire. So Brahmaji says, okay, from the 8.4 million life forms, your desire will get fulfilled in so and so life form from the 8.4 million. Therefore, you will go into the womb of that animal or of that human to fulfill your this particular dominant desires. And this is how uh, uh, we all also came through the father into the mother and took birth as a human, and the same process happens in animals also. Matan?
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Mayank?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, so Brahma created the species. So I just had a question related to, uh, so we studying Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we know the source of creation. But people from different or from other religion or so so their perception of source of creation is uh, different. So is it uh, so is it based on more of imagination from their point of view, or like, because if something is a source, it has to be source universally. I mean,
You are correct. So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, chapter 13, and chapter 14. that the knowledge given in Bhagavad Gita, there are no parallels in the world. Other people in the material world who do not have proper information. And we also discussed this in Bhagavatam in the previous unit, that why is Sukadeva Goswami asking about creation when he only has 7 days to live, when he also already knows about the creation, and he knows that Krishna's pastime, Vrindavan pastimes discussed in Canto 10 are more relishable, then why is he asking about creation? We discussed this, that Parikshit Maharaj is asking for the benefit of all people. They may be intelligent people, but they do not know this information. So therefore, we go out on preaching to explain all this.
Does it mean like so the people who are following different thing there it is more based on certain imagination and perception of how the things will be from their point of view?
Yeah, so their imagination doesn't help them. Yeah, they may be doing rituals, but it doesn't help them. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, Srila Narad Muni instructs to Prachana Bharisat, and after hearing about Bhakti Yoga, Prachana Bharisat says, all my previous teachers telling me about to do rituals, they have cheated me because all that information is incorrect. So we have also discussed in Yoga Ladder that all this demigod worship or all these rituals are step one to bring you into the circle of spirituality. You don't have to stop at Karma Kanda. You have to then progress further, and the intent of bhakti yoga, the intent of demigod worship is so that you meet a pure devotee and progress. Don't just stop on rituals, and don't just stop on whatever you have heard. No, go and inquire further. Other people in the material world don't know about this. Therefore, Prabhupada said, you have learned all of this. Now go and you preach. Don't just keep it to yourself. It should be there in Canto 1. I forget the verse. It's at the start, Canto 1, around chapter 4. Prabhupada says, Shrotavya Kirtitavya cha. That you are hearing. Shrotatavya is hearing. Okay, it is good that you are hearing, but don't keep it to yourself. Therefore, Prabhupada says, Kirtitavya. That now you go and also preach, so that people in the material world know what they don't know. Mayank?
Yeah, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Everybody crystal clear? Everybody realizes the importance of inquiries?
Yes, Prabhuji.
I really need to play the critter sound. All right, striking points. We have 4 slides. Slide number 1. Take a snapshot. Slide number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Mayank Prabhu, you can also consider to listen to last week's recording on the difference between religion and spirituality. That also we discussed similar, that people are just following a ritual. They are outside of spiritual circle. Yeah, it's a religious process, but that does not mean make it spiritual.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I had a follow-up question. May I?
Yeah.
So as per the discussion,
So ask your question instead of setting the base.
yeah, sorry. So if a particular person has introduced something uh, like uh, like this is how the creation was being made, like from different people's perspective I'm talking about. So if a certain person has created that set that perception, like this is how the creation is was being made. So uh, is it that people just followed it blindly without questioning anything, or
I want you to go to Bhagavad Gita introduction, and there is a paragraph which says around page 11 says this Vedic knowledge is not a question of imagination.
no, I'm not talking about
So if somebody has 4 defects and somebody is telling you that something is so and so, why would you believe it? So go and find Bhagavad Gita introduction. Vedic knowledge is not a question of research, and all human beings have 4 defects. Find that paragraph, please. Bhagavad Gita introduction.
It's page 13, Prabhuji, at the bottom.
Yeah. So hardbound could be page 13 or softbound could be page 11, plus minus one page. So paragraph is Vedic knowledge is not a question of research. Vimal Prabhu, you can go ahead and read that paragraph, please, if you have it handy.
Hare Krishna. Vedic knowledge is not a question of research. Our research work is imperfect because we are researching things with imperfect senses.
Okay. What does it say? Our research work is imperfect because we are researching things with imperfect senses. Why do you need to worry about anybody else? So whosoever is telling you something in the material world, tell them, give me scriptural reference. If they don't have scriptural reference, why would you believe them? Continue, Vimal Prabhu.
We have to accept perfect knowledge which comes down as is stated in Bhagavad Gita by the uh, Parampara disciple succession. We have to receive knowledge from the proper source in disciple succession, beginning with the supreme spiritual master, the Lord Himself, and handed down to a succession of spiritual masters. Arjuna is a student who took lessons from Lord Sri Krishna, accepts everything that he says without contradicting him. One is not allowed to accept one portions of Bhagavad Gita and not not another. No, we must accept Bhagavad Gita without interpretation, without deletion, and without our own whimsical participation in the matter. The Gita should be taken as the most perfect presentation of Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is received from transcendental source, and the first word were spoken by the Lord Himself. The words spoken by the Lord are called apsaras, meaning that they are different from words spoken by a person of the mundane world who is infected with 4 defects. A, a, a mandir is sure to commit mistakes, is in variable illusions, has the tendency to cheat others, and is limited by imperfect senses. With these 4 imperfections, one cannot deliver perfect information of all prevailing knowledges. Continue, Babu.
So Prabhupada say the Bhagavad Gita should be taken as the most perfect presentation. And anybody else talking anything and everything in the material world, Are Baba, mundaner has 4 defects. Commit mistakes, is illusioned, has tendency to cheat, and has limited senses. Why would you believe anybody? And Mayank Prabhu, the problem does not lie with materialistic people creating something that is not correct. The problem lies with you. I want you to read Bhagavad Gita 2.52. Mayank Prabhu.
it up, Prabhuji. 2.52, right?
Correct.
When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard.
Right? You are not indifferent to whatever you are hearing in the material world because you are still in the dense forest of delusion. Why are you believing anybody? Ask for scriptural reference. Why do you have to watch television programs that talk about all these topics when we know they are themselves not having this information? Mayank Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, so I was asking question more from the point of view of not me believing something people are saying, but uh, uh, I mean, I'm not sure how I should put it here in lecture. But I can, if needed, I can take it offline. Like it's more of the people who already follow, right? So
Yeah, and we already discussed that it's not going to help them. We have discussed this in Sri Ishopanishad that those who are in ignorance, they will go to hell, and those who are in knowledge and leading other people on a wrong track, therefore this knowledge is not knowledge, rather is so-called knowledge. These people with this so-called knowledge are going to go to bigger hell because they are misdirecting so many people. Therefore, we all go out on preaching so that people know what actually they should know, what they do not know. Mayank Prabhu?
yes,
So
Prabhuji, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
just want to add on to the same note that the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Shri Krishna, and we got it from generation by generation. While the other people research, as it mentioned in page 13, it's searched by imperfect senses. So we cannot believe what they are saying
Correct.
because there's no trail.
Correct.
Yeah, actually, that's what the whole question was. So, uh, uh,
Yeah, why do you have to believe them? Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody's
I come across probably similar
uh,
persons at work as well, that they are preaching some other stuff, but I just ignore because there's no point of arguing because I know where is everything coming from and where they are coming from. You can just enlighten them, or if you don't want to learn, it's up to them.
correct. Very good. Everybody crystal clear? We spent a lot of time on important discussion. All right. Let's finally start Canto 2, Chapter 6. So I will lay the foundation that towards the end of Canto 1, Parikshit Maharaj inquired, O trustworthy Brahmanas, out of all different duties, what duty a living being must execute in all circumstances? And what is the duty of one who is just about to die? So Sukadeva Goswami will first reply on what one should not do, Nisheda, prohibitions. So Vidhi cannot be broken, but Vidhi can be relaxed. Nisheda cannot be broken at all. Therefore, Nisheda is explained first because Nisheda is very powerful. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, materialistic way of life is described, that how foolish materialistic men waste their precious human form of life, working hard during the day to make money and sleeping at night, instead of focusing on the ultimate solution to end birth, death, old age, disease, and go back home, back to Godhead. While Grahastha is a real householder who lives according to scriptures for spiritual advancement. The solution to end Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi problem of life is Bhakti Yoga. Human life is not meant for hard labor, for economic development, nor is it meant for sex indulgence like that of dogs and hogs. And Sukadeva Goswami gave his own example as evidence for following Bhakti Yoga that Sukadeva Goswami is Atmaram. Still, he took up the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as Sukadeva Goswami gives example from scripture with the Khatwanga Maharaj story that a moment's life spent in Bhakti Yoga is far better than prolonged life of wasteful life engaged in sense gratification. In Canto 2, Chapter 2, Sukadeva Goswami explained the importance of accepting minimum necessities in life by a devotee. And Sukadeva Goswami also gave the gradual process and the instant process of liberation, plus the sadhana bhakti, devotional service as the best path. In Chapter 3, in response to Parikshit Maharaj's inquiry as to what a person should do for one who is about to die, Sukadeva Goswami said that the Supreme Lord who is in the heart as Super Soul, he should be remembered. Supreme Lord should be the object of our life. Devotional service should be the object. And Sukadeva Goswami discusses people are engaged in worshipping other personalities. And this is also the answer to Parikshit Maharaj's question as to what a person should not do. That don't worship other personalities like demigods. In chapters 4 and 5, the discussion between Brahmaji and Narad Muni about Sarga, primary creation, and Visarga, secondary creation is there. Chapter 4, Parikshit Maharaj inquires about creation. Parikshit Maharaj, because of his wholehearted attraction to Lord Krishna, therefore Parikshit Maharaj was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, wife, children, palace, animals, treasury, friends, relatives, kingdom. So Parikshit Maharaj already knows about creation. And even when Parikshit Maharaj had only 7 days to live, Parikshit Maharaj is still inquiring about creation instead of Krishna's Vrindavan pastime described in Canto 10, because without understanding the greatness of Supreme Lord, people treat Krishna as ordinary. People treat Krishna as God just in theory. Therefore, one should know the greatness of the Lord first, then Canto 10 becomes relishable. So Parikshit Maharaj asked question about creation to set example for future readers and hearers that this is the process of reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, to go in step-by-step process. As well as we just discussed at great length that Parikshit Maharaj asked the question about creation for the benefit of general people who do not know all this information. And in chapter 5, the cause of all causes, Narad Muni asks questions about Brahmaji and about creation. Narad Muni asking heavy points that how and why Jiva are infatuated with Maya, therefore infatuated with I, me, mine. That who is in the background, under whose shelter this is sustained. And Narad Muni inquiring with Brahmaji that are you the only creator? People worship other powerful people up to Brahmaji, because people are in illusion. Brahmaji therefore describes that Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original creator. He does sarga, primary creation. And I, Brahmaji, I am just the secondary creator. Secondary creation is essentially assembly of various parts that are originally created by the Lord himself. Brahmaji is doing assembly of these original parts just as a car manufacturing is assembly of various parts. So this unit 7 covers Canto 2, chapter 6 to 10. Unit 7 is titled Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam. Question for all of you. Anybody remembers what is Bhagavad Gita Chatur Shloki verses and what is the essence of Chatur Shloki Gita? Everybody? Anybody? Shivangi, thank you.
10.8 to 11.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Correct. Shivangi, Gauri are correct. Pragya? Pragya?
Prabhuji, I wanted to say the same.
Okay, the verses are correct. What's the essence of Bhagavad Gita Chatur Shloki verses?
That God is everything, Prabhuji. Maya is illusion.
That's not what we have discussed. Yeah, God is everything is correct. But so take it as a spiritual endeavor for today to revise Bhagavad Gita's Chatur Shloki verses. What is the essence of Bhagavad Gita Chatur Shloki? And you will realize and find the comparison with Srimad Bhagavatam Chatur Shloki also. They are similar concepts in both Bhagavad Gita Chatur Shloki verses and Srimad Bhagavatam Chatur Shloki. We already revised Bhagavad Gita, but if anybody still needs a revision, from January 9th at the Bhagavad Gita batch 6 and 7, the classes are on Fridays 8:30 p.m. India time. Bhagavad Gita revision is again going to happen. You are welcome to join or listen to those revision class recordings. So this unit number 7, covering chapter 6 to 10, Canto 2, is titled Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam. From this unit 7's title, it is obvious that unit number 7 has 4 verses as the summary of Srimad Bhagavatam. So all of you, do you remember from the Bhagavatam overview class, how was Bhagavatam spoken and how did it come down in disciplic succession? Anybody remembers? So take this also your spiritual endeavor to refresh your memory that how did Bhagavatam come down in disciplic succession. Basically, Krishna first spoke Bhagavatam to Brahmaji as 4 verses only, and those 4 verses are in this Canto 2, chapter 9, verses 33 to 36 are the Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam verses. We will discuss these heavy verses in chapter 9. That Krishna first spoke these 4 verses as the Srimad Bhagavatam to Brahmaji, and to explain these 4 verses, Srimad Bhagavatam became 18,000 verses and the whole disciplic succession. So refresh your memory with that slide also. You have 2 spiritual endeavors already, even though we haven't yet discussed anything in this unit number 7. So in this Canto 2, chapter 6 describes the universal form. Spiritual and material world comparison is described. Brahmaji describes that Lord is the original creator and Lord is not fully knowable. Lord is avigyam. So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, verses 13 to 19, Gayam, that Gayam is avigayam, the knowable is unknowable. Then in Canto 2, chapter 7 describes some incarnations of the Lord. Chapter 7 summary is that Brahmaji established Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahmaji explained universal form, various incarnations and activities of Krishna. Chapter number 8 is simply a laundry list of inquiries made by Parikshit Maharaj. There are some 30 some questions. The entire chapter is just questions. Chapter number 9 basically describes the Chatur Shloki Srimad Bhagavatam. And chapter number 10, the very first verse, and the chapter is the 10 subject matters discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 2, chapter 6 is titled Purusha Shukta Confirmed. So where is this name coming from and what is this meaning? So Taittiriya Mantra Upanishad has a Purusha Shukta Mantra, meaning is a hymn for glorification of Purusha, the cosmic being. The translation from the Taittiriya Mantra Upanishad Purusha Shukta Mantra is the Purusha, meaning the universal form, has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, thousands of feet. So this thousand signifies innumerable, which points to the omnipotence, omnipresence of the universal being. He envelops the world from all sides, meaning he pervades each part of the creation and extends in all directions. Meaning, this Purusha Shukta mantra is talking about universal form, and Canto 2, chapter 6 is also talking about universal form. Therefore, chapter 6 is titled Purusha Shukta Confirmed. Canto 2, chapter 6 is divided into 6 parts. Part 1, verses 1 to 17. Title is Universal Form. Part 2, verses 18 to 12. Material world and spiritual world. Part 3, verses 23 to 30. Lord is the material cause. Part 4, verses 31 to 33. Lord Narayan empowers Brahmaji. Part 5, verses 34 to 38. Brahmaji glorifies the Lord, plus the Lord remains not fully knowable. Part 6, verses 39 to 46. Mahavishnu, the original creator. Everybody crystal clear on the base setting discussion? Oh, all right.
Yes, Prabhuji, noted.
Thank you.
Ji Prabhuji.
So section 1 is verses 1 to 17 on universal form. And up front, there is a question, there potentially may be a question, that why universal form again? So universal form is explained in different dimensions of our experiences of this material world. Therefore, universal form is discussed at multiple places. In simple terms, what we need to understand that anything that is manifested in the material world is coming from the Supreme Lord. We already had a significantly long discussion on this point today, that everything is coming from the Lord. So universal form of the Supreme Lord is explained in many different ways. Example, planetary systems, then Brahmana, Kshatriya, how they are forming part of the Lord, or different people as different parts of the universal form, or even demigods are part of universal form. So what we perceive in this material world, everything is coming from Supreme Lord through the universal form. Everything we see in the material manifestation can be compared to part of the body of the universal form. We already had this significant, long discussion on this topic today itself. Srila Prabhupada explains in verse number 1 purport that original identity is spiritual world. Plus Prabhupada explains that use senses in Krishna's service. So here Brahmaji is talking to Srila Narad Muni. Pragya, verse number 1, translation and purport. So we are on chapter 6, verse number 1.
Hare Krishna, Ji Prabhuji. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.6.1, translation. Lord Brahma said, the mouth of the Virat Purusha, the universal form of the Lord, is generating center of the voice, and the controlling deity is fire. His skin and 6 other layers are the generating centers of the Vedic hymns, and his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods. The forefathers and the general offerings to the demigods, the forefathers, and the general mass of people. Purport. The opulences of the universal form of Lord are described herein. It is said that his mouth is the generating center of all kinds of voices, and its controlling deity is the fire demigod. And his skin and other 6 layers of bodily construction are the representative generating centers of the 7 kinds of Vedic hymns, like the Gayatri. Gayatri is the beginning of all Vedic mantras, and it is explained in the first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam. Since the generating centers are different parts of the universal form of the Lord, and since the form of the Lord is transcendental to the material creation, it is to be understood that the voice, the tongue, the skin, etc., suggest that the Lord in his transcendental form is not without them. The material voice, or the energy of taking in foodstuff, is generated originally from the Lord. Such actions are but perverted reflections of the original reservoirs. The transcendental situation is not without spiritual variegatedness. In the spiritual world, all the perverted forms of material variegatedness are fully represented in their original spiritual identity. The only difference is that material activities are contaminated by 3 modes of material nature, whereas the potencies in the spiritual world are all pure because they are engaged in the unalloyed, transcendental, loving services of the Lord. In the spiritual world, the Lord is the sublime enjoyer of everything, and the living entities there are all engaged in his transcendental loving service without any contamination of the modes of material nature. The activities in the spiritual world are without any of the difficulties in the material world, but there is no question of impersonal voidness on the spiritual platform, as suggested by the impersonalists. Devotional service is defined in the Narad Pancha Charitra as follows. Sarvopati vinirmuktam tat parvatena nirmalam hishikena hishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. Originally, since all the senses are produced by the Lord's reservoir of senses, the sensual activities of the material world are to be purified by the process of devotional service, and thus the perfection of life can be attained simply by purifying the present position of our material activities. And the purifying process begins from the stage of being liberated from the conception of different designations. Every living entity is engaged in some sort of service, either for self or for the family or for the society, country, etc. But unfortunately, all such services are rendered due to material attachment. The attachments of the material affinity may be simply changed to the service of the Lord, and thus the treatment of being freed from material attachment begins automatically. The process of liberation is therefore easier through devotional service than by any other methods. For in the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is said that one is subjected to various kinds of tribulations if one is impersonally attached. Klesho dhiktaras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam. Hare Krishna.
So all material perverted variegatedness are originally present in the spiritual world without the perversion. It is not that material things are not real. What is not real is that our understanding that I am the controller and that I can be happy by utilizing these things. These are not real. We also had a question today on this point, and we discussed at great length. So, example, a mic is material. If I use it for political speech, it is material. And the same mic is spiritual when used to deliver Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam lectures. When everything is used in Krishna's service, then it becomes spiritual. When material things not used in service of the Lord, then it becomes material. We already had a significant long discussion on this topic also. So Srila Prabhupada quotes Srila Narad Muni's Pancharatra verse, which is also there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 19.170. Sarva upadi vinirmukta tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchate. That when you engage your senses in Krishna's service, your senses will get purified. Questions, comments, realizations? Next few verses explain that everything in the material world we can connect with every part of the body of the universal form from what it originated anyways. Divya, verses 2 to 6 translations.
Hare Krishna. Text 2. His nostrils are the generating centers of our breathing and of all other airs. His smelling powers generate the Ashwini Kumara demigod and all kinds of medicinal herbs, and his breathing energies produce different kinds of fragrance. Text 3. His eyes are the generating centers of all kinds of forms, and they glitter and illuminate. His eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. His ears hear from all sides and are receptacles for all the Vedas, and his sense of hearing is the generating center of the sky and of all kinds of sound. Text 4. His bodily surface is the breeding ground for the active principles of everything and for all kinds of auspicious opportunities. His skin, like the moving air, is the generating center for all kinds of sense of touch and is the place for performing all kinds of sacrifice. Text 5. The hairs on his body are the cause of all vegetation, particularly of those trees which are required as ingredients for sacrifice. The hairs on his head and face are reservoirs for the clouds, and his nails are the breeding ground of electricity, stone, and iron ores. Text 6. The Lord's arm are the productive fields for the great demigods and other leaders of the living entities who protect the general mass.
In purport for verse number 6, Prabhupada explains that the power of the powerful leaders comes from the Supreme Lord. And one needs to accept the origin of power as well as the benefit of accepting the Lord as the origin of all power. Archana, verse number 6, purport. You can skip the Sanskrit part and read from after the Sanskrit verses. There are many powerful kings. Read from there.
Hare Krishna, everyone. This important verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is corroborated and nicely explained in the Bhagavad Gita 10.41.42 as follows. There are many powerful kings, leaders, learned, scholars, and scientists, artists, engineers, inventors, executors, archaeologists, industrialists, politicians, economic businesses, magnates, and many more powerful deities of demigod like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varuna, and Marut, who are all protecting the interest of the universal affair of the maintenance in a different position, and all of them are a different power, full part and a parcel of a supreme lord. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the father of all living entity who are placed in a different high and low position according to their desire or aspiration. Some of them, as a particularly mentioned above, are specifically endowed with power by the will of a Lord. A sane person must known for certain that a living being, however powerful he may be, he is neither absolute nor independent. All living beings must accept the origin of their specific power as mentioned in this verse. And if they act accordingly, then simply by discharging their respective occupation duty, they can achieve the highest perfection of life, namely eternal life, complete knowledge, and inexhaustible blessing. As long as a powerful man of a world do not accept the origin of their respective power, namely the personality of a Godhead, the action of Maya, illusion, will continue to act. The action of Maya are such that a powerful person misled by the illusion, material energy, wrongly accept himself as all in all and does not develop God consciousness. As such, the false sense of egoism, namely myself and my, has become overly prominent in the world. And there is a hard struggle for existence in a human society. The intelligent class of the man, therefore, must admit the Lord as the ultimate source of all energies and thus pay tribute to the Lord for his good blessing. Simply by accepting the Lord as a supreme proprietor of everything, since he is actually so, one can achieve the highest perfection of life. Whatever a person may be in the estimation of a social order of things. If a person tries to reciprocate a feeling of love towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is satisfied with the blessing of the Lord, he will at once feel the highest peace of mind, for which he is hankering life after life. Peace of mind, or in other words, the, the, the healthy state of a mind, and be achieved only when the mind is situated in the transcendental loving service of a Lord. The part and a parcel of a Lord are endowed with the specific power of rendering service unto the Lord. Just as a big business magnate son are empowered with a specific power of administration, the obedient son of the father never goes against the will of the father and therefore passes life very peacefully in concord with the head of the family. The Father. Similarly, the Lord being the Father, all living beings should fully and satisfactorily discharge the duty and will of the Father as faithful Son. This very mentality will at once bring peace and prosperity to the human society. Hare Krishna.
A big list of powerful leaders and demigods. One has to understand that all those powers come from Supreme Lord. Some powerful person proud of his power, but is suddenly paralyzed and all power is lost. Lord can take away the power at any time, just as Arjuna also we discussed in Canto 1, that Arjuna also could not protect the queens. Therefore, Arjuna realized that before the Lord was present, therefore he had all the power to single-handedly win the Kurukshetra war. But now Lord has taken the power away because that power is not required by Arjuna to go back home to Godhead. So real intelligence is to admit the Lord as the ultimate source of all energies and to pay tribute to the Lord for his good blessings, because anything can be withdrawn at any point of time. Simply by accepting that Lord is proprietor of everything is all perfection of life. Well, we'll talk about conviction in the next verse, number 7. Gauri, 7 translation and purport.
Hare Krishna. Translation, verse 7. Thus the forward steps of the Lord are the shelter for the upper, lower, and heavenly planets, as well as for all that we need. His lotus feet serve as protection from all kinds of fear. Purport. For absolute protection from all sorts of fear, as well as for all our needs of life, we must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, not only in this planet, but also in all the upper, lower, and heavenly planets. This absolute dependence on the lotus feet of the Lord is called pure devotional service, and it is directly hinted at within this passage. No one should have any kind of doubt in this manner, nor should anyone be inclined to seek the help of any other demigods, because all of them are dependent on him only. Everyone except the Lord himself is dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Even the all-pervading super soul is also dependent on the supreme aspect of Bhagavatam, of Bhagwan, the personality of Godhead.
The question is, how do we get delivered from fear of death by taking shelter? Answer, when we understand that we are eternal, we end the cycle of birth and death. How devotees come out of fear is that devotees know that after leaving this body, I am going to a better place. When devotees has this complete conviction, then there is no fear of death. Right now, I may have partial conviction. Therefore, I have fear of death because I have my feet in 2 boats, material and spiritual boats, because my conviction is partial. If I have complete conviction, then I will act according to that conviction. All devotees or most devotees say, I have faith in Krishna. But in practice, the conviction is lacking. Conviction means to act according to Krishna's instructions. If action is lacking, means my conviction is lacking. If there is no action, means my conviction is just imagination. When things fall apart or when misery comes, it is to find it difficult to think that this misery is for my benefit, means conviction is lacking. Together with conviction, one needs purity also to go back home, back to Godhead. Questions, comments, realization on conviction? All right. Verse number 8 talks about that sex life should be utilized only for the necessity of procreating Krishna conscious children. Chandran, verse 8 translation.
Hare Krishna. Text 8 translation. From the last genitals originate water, semen, generatives, brains, and the procreators. His genitals are the cause of a pleasure that counteracts the distress of begetting. Purport, Prabhuji?
In the purport, you read halfway through where it starts. In the material world, sex life is the cause of many distress.
Therefore, the sex life in the material world should not be encouraged.
One line above, from one line above.
Right. Take an aspect of the material contamination. The material world, sex life is the cause of many distresses on account of material contact. Therefore, the sex life in the material world should not be encouraged beyond the necessity. There is a necessity for generating progeny even in the material world, but such generation of children must be carried out with full responsibility for spiritual values. The spiritual values of life can be realized in the human form of material existence, and the human being must adopt family planning with reference to the context of spiritual values and not otherwise. The degraded form of family restrictions by use of contraceptives, etc., is the grossest type of material contamination. Materialists who use these devices want to fully utilize the pleasure potency of the coating on the genitals by artificial means without knowing the spiritual importance and without knowledge of spiritual values. The less intelligent man tries to utilize only the material sense pleasure of the genitals. Like Krishna.
Prabhupada has explained that one should not become father or husband or spiritual master if he cannot deliver his dependents, his disciples. So it's a great responsibility. Matan Prabhu, verses 9 and 10 translations.
Hare Krishna. O Narada, the evacuating outlet of the universal form of the Lord is the abode of the controlling deity of death, Mitra, and the evacuating hall, and the return of the Lord is the place of envy, misfortune, death, hell, etc. Verse 10. The lack of the Lord, the back of the Lord, is the place of all kinds of frustration and ignorance, as well as for immorality. From his veins flow the great river and rivulets, and on his bonds are stacked the great mountains. Purport?
Purport, Prabhu, verse 10, the last four lines, which are those who are fortunate.
Those who are fortunate enough to have a view of the Lord from the front can realize his personal feature, whereas those who are frustrated and are thus kept on the ignorant side of the Lord, or in other words, those who have view of the Lord from the back realize him in his impersonal feature.
Right, so Prabhupada says that devotees can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a person, while impersonalists are frustrated because they do not understand the Lord. Therefore, they are kept on the ignorant side of the Lord, meaning compared to the backside of the Lord. Verses 11 and 12 are straightforward. Mayank Prabhu, 11 and 12 translations.
Hare Krishna. The impersonal feature of the Lord is the abode of great oceans, and his belly is the resting place for the materially annihilated living entities. His heart is the abode of the supple material bodies of living beings. Thus, it is known by the intelligent class of men. Also, the consciousness of that great personality is the abode of religious principles, mine, yours, and those of the four bachelors, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara, and Sanandana. that consciousness is also the abode of truth and transcendental knowledge.
Straightforward verses. In verses 13 to 16, Achinta Bhed Abhed Tattva is described. Shivangi, verses 13 to 16, translation purport, faster pace.
Hare Krishna, beginning from me, Brahma, down to you and Bhava, Shiva, all the great sages who were born before you, the demigods, the demons, the nagas, the human beings, the birds, the beasts, as well as the reptiles, etc., and all phenomenal manifestations of the universes, namely the planets, stars, asteroids, luminaries, lightning, thunder, and the inhabitants of the different planetary systems, namely the Gandharvas, Apsaras, Yakshas, Rakshas, Bhutangas, Uragas, Pashus, Pitas, Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, and all other different varieties of living entities, including the birds, beasts, trees, and everything that be, are all covered by the universal form of the Lord at all times, namely past, present, and future, although he is transcendental to all of them, eternally existing in a form not exceeding 9 inches. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his partial representation, measuring not more than 9 inches as Supersoul, expands by his potency in the shape of the universal form, which includes everything manifested in different varieties of organic and inorganic materials. The manifested varieties of the universe are therefore not different from the Lord, just as golden ornaments of different shapes and forms are not different from the original stock reserve of gold. In other words, the Lord is the Supreme Person who controls everything within the creation, and still he remains a supreme separate identity, distinct from all manifested material creation. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.4 to 5, he is therefore said to be Yogeshvara. Everything rests on the potency of Lord Sri Krishna, and still the Lord is different from and transcendental to all such identities. In the Vedic Purusha Shukta of the Rig mantra, this is also confirmed. This philosophical truth of simultaneous oneness and difference was propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it is known as Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Brahma, Narada, and all others are simultaneously one with the Lord and different from the Supreme Lord. We are all one with him, just as the gold ornaments are one in quality with the stock gold, but the individual gold ornament is never equal in quantity with the stock gold. The stock gold is never exhausted, even if there are innumerable ornaments emanating from the stock, because the stock is Purnam, complete. Even if Purnam is deducted from the Purnam, still the Supreme Purnam remains the same Purnam. This fact is inconceivable to our present imperfect senses. Lord Chaitanya therefore defined his theory of philosophy as achintya, inconceivable, and as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita as well as in the Bhagavatam, Lord Chaitanya's theory of achintya Veda Veda Tattva is the perfect philosophy of the absolute truth.
So everything is within the Lord, but he is still separate. This is Achinta Bhed Abhed Tattva. This is inconceivable. So Sri Upanishad invocation mantra, Om Purnamada Purnamidam. Right? That's what is explained here, that Supreme Personality of Godhead stays Purnam. So this is very important to understand about this Purnam, that nothing can be added to the Lord and nothing can be deducted from the Lord. So 1 plus 1 continues to stay as 1, and 1 minus 1 continues to stay as 1. Simultaneously, 1 minus infinity also continues to stay as 1. Meaning all these infinite universes emanating from the Lord still continues to stay as 1, as Purnam. So as long as I am caught in material conception, then this Achinta Bhed Abhed Tattva will be difficult to comprehend. Achinta Bhed Abhed Tattva is the perfect philosophy of the absolute truth. In verse number 17, I request all of you to please tolerate few extra minutes. We'll finish this verse number 17 and this part 1. In verse number 17, it describes that 75% of the creation is in spiritual world, which is known as Tripad vibhuti, and 25% of creation is in the material world, which is Ekpat vibhuti. Vibhuti means opulence. Pragya 17 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Text 17. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by expanding his universal form, maintains everything in the creation, both internally and externally.
Purport, about 5-6 line down, it says 75% of the expansive radiation. Read from there. Okay, unmute.
Yes, Prabhuji. 75% of the expansive radiation of the Lord is manifested in the spiritual sky, Tripad vibhuti, and 75% of his personal radiation
25.
comprehends.
Yeah, next is
Oh,
25.
sorry. And 25% of his personal radiation comprehends the entire expansion of material universe. Okay, 75% is the expansive radiation of the Lord, and 25% is his personal radiation, comprehends the entire expansion of the material universe. This is also explained and stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.42. Thus, the 75% expansion of his radiation is called his internal energy, whereas the 25% expansion is called external energy of the Lord. The living entities who are residents of the spiritual as well as the material expansions are his marginal energy, the Tatastha Shakti, and they are at liberty to live in either of the energies, external or internal. Those who live within the spiritual expansion of the Lord are called liberated souls, whereas the residents of the external expansion are called conditioned souls. We can just make an estimate of the number of residents of the internal expansions in comparison with the number of residents in the external energy, and may easily conclude that the liberated souls are far more numerous than the conditioned soul. Hare Krishna. Sorry, Prabhuji, there is some sound outside my house.
So 75% of the creation is the spiritual sky is known as Tripad Vibhuti, and 25% of the creation is the material universes, which is Ekpad Vibhuti. So later on in Bhagavatam is described that from the count of the souls, only 10% of these souls are in the material world universes. The material world is 25% of creation. Only 10% of the souls are there. Remaining 90% of the souls are in the spiritual sky, which is about 75% of the creation. So you can imagine that for the 10% of the souls, Krishna could have said, let them go. I mean, 90% of the souls are anyway directly serving me in the spiritual world. Why do I need to worry about the 10% of the souls? But no, even for the 10% of the fallen souls, for all of us, Krishna has done so much effort to create these material universes, because these material universes are giving a chance to all of us so that we can purify and go back home, back to Godhead. My last statement for today is that why we all souls are called as Tatashta Shakti, because Tatashta Shakti means marginal, in between, because the Jiva, the soul, has the liberty to live either with the internal energy in the spiritual world or with the external energy in the material world. I wanted to cover more verses, but we ran out of time. Spiritual endeavor for today, you already have it. That Bhagavad Gita Chatur Shloki verses. Find the verses. You already know the verses. Find the essence from your Bhagavad Gita discussion, as well as from the Srimad Bhagavatam overview, that how Srimad Bhagavatam is coming down in Parampara. Refresh your memory. If anybody is interested in Bhagavad Gita refresher again, then from January 9th at batch number 6 and 7, Bhagavad Gita revisions are going to start. So Bhagavad Gita classes batch 6 and 7 are on Fridays, 8:30 p.m., which in India becomes early morning 7 a.m. Saturday. Thank you all for tolerating 5 extra minutes. We will stop here. Any questions can be posted on the link and I will answer in subsequent classes. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Everybody, Hare Krishna.